Yes, hello everybody. Welcome to another edition of Full Course Yellow. This is the In Pit Lane Show after party. If you're coming straight from Channel 31, welcome along. Good to have you. Good to have you here. Once again, apologies for the sound on Hugh Barter's interview. We'll talk about that a bit later. But it was great to hear from Hugh. He's been a good friend of the program for a couple of years now, and great to see him doing so well over in France. And how lucky is he? 15 years old, living at Le Mans. My God. I mean, talk about living the charmed life. He's certainly got it there at the moment. So, welcome to the program. As you can see, we've got a sort of almost a full quota of people. Richard Outram has joined us again. Richard, go, Richard. We just he just popped up on the
Lead up, Chris.
on the thing, and I think I've got double muting there on Chris. So, yeah. So anyway, welcome everybody. Good to see you all again, and. Yep, there we go. Yeah, interesting. Yeah, thanks, Box. Yeah, as I was saying to the guys before on, it was very rushed. I said to Hugh, sent Hugh a message late on Sunday night, just before the MotoGP started actually, and just said, listen, are you available to grab for an interview sometime before sort of Monday night our time? And he said, well, I'm going to be a bit busy, but I can do it right now. So threw everything together, and then we had a bit of a chat, and had a chat to his father for a while, and we were. Just sort of forgot about the fact that we were doing a television show. Yeah. And, I just chatted away and then did the interview and the next morning put it into the editing suite and heard the echo. But by that time, not a lot that we could do. G'day, Jeff. How are you? Welcome back. Good to have you again. Also from Tony. G'day, Tony. Good evening to you once again. And also Russell is joining us again too. Yes, smart, articulate, he is very, very impressive, Hugh. I mean, even at the age of 11, I remember at Sandown at some stage, I forget the driver I was with at the time, but Hugh came and joined us, and as he walked away, the guy just looked at me and went, oh my God, that kid's an encyclopedia. I mean, he really knows and loves his motorsport, and he can speak at a very, very advanced level, and great to see him doing well overseas. Yes, we'll start off. We'll start off with the news on Roger Slowly. Paul has put there. I heard that Paul posted a thing on Facebook this afternoon. A long time official and long time crew member with the Kirkham family, with Phil and Declan and they're so. Very sad to hear that, and I don't know whether Richard might have even known him, but he's been around the traps for a long time. So to the family of Roger and all of his many friends and everybody in the Victorian volunteer flag marshalling and marshalling community, we do send our condolences. Thanks. So anyway, we will move on. As they say, the show must go on, as we saw on the weekend, and we'll talk about that in just a moment. G'day, Michael. How are you? Good to see you. Thank you for that. We enjoyed last week's telecast. Hope you enjoy this week's one. Okay, so let's talk. Let's not talk about the bad stuff from MotoGP first of all. Let's talk about the good stuff, and we'll start with Doc. And Doc, we're going to have two Australians back in MotoGP this year. Remy Gardner will be running with KTM.
Yeah, I've got some really good stuff. I've got some semi-breaking news as well too. Let's say almost Greek-style dinner plate. Remy Gardner, first of all, thanks for mentioning that. Hello to everyone out there, BBB, and all the usual suspects that are tuning in, either by vision or audio. It's great to hear from you, and we're getting quite a following now, Brett. It's great to see and hear, and some regulars every week that tune in to listen to us and hear of our informed opinion. So, yeah, Remy Gardner, congratulations. He is joining the KTM team. He has strong links with them already throughout the last few years. And Wayne, his dad's obviously a 500cc champion from the days gone by. So he'll be joining MotoGP next year. He did have an offer at the start of this season to join the MotoGP, but he went back with his dad and his team and made the decision to maybe have another year and just consolidate and hone his skills and just tick a few more boxes in Moto2 before making the big step. So KTM have been, and that was with KTM 12 months ago. They wanted him to jump on MotoGP for this year. So he's held out for one more year, and look, he's probably just going to go with that little bit more confidence, a little bit more stead. So, and it also comes off some success in the last race where KTM through Oliveira came second in the race in MotoGP. So, you know, they've always been those four big guns plus Ducati, the Italian spaghetti munchers out there. You've got Suzuki, Yamaha, Kawasaki, and Honda. Kawasaki don't compete in MotoGP anymore, haven't done for years, but Ducati and KTM have just been growing up through the ranks. So he's not going to be on the best bike out there, but it might be the best bike for him suited for the time being, and it's through the Tech 3 team through Herbert Poncharal, and he's extremely experienced, a great racer back in his time himself, and fantastic team manager. So that's really good news. Also, some late, as I said, some Greek plate news type thing just been smashed recently in the last few hours. Is Pramac have secured the two riders, obviously with Ducati with Jack Miller being signed in the last couple of weeks, and Bang Nyanya already having his contract deal for 2022. So he's got 2 years already there, and now Miller's following his footsteps, and they're both secured through the Ducati factory team. Pramac Ducati, which is the best satellite team that's underneath them, and probably gets the next best of all the good bits off them and the hand-me-downs. They've secured a Martin and Zarco, so who are the current riders for Pramac as well. So good news there. So obviously, it's just a fall down. If they've got the two factory riders settled and contracted, let's get the next best, and they're happy with the two players that are in their main game there too. Congratulations to Quartararo. He's still finding form. He came first. Miller was about 6 seconds off the pace, I think, and Jackie got a strong 6. So 6 seconds is nothing to be sneezed at. So I'm sure he's still got his tail in the air and still got saying roll on. But yeah, another great race and great fun, and yeah, some lots of good news. Unfortunately, there is that sad news where, and a little bit of controversy afterwards, we did lose a Moto3 person through an accident in a race, and it's unfortunate, and it happens from time to time, and there's going to be doubters and haysayers and naysayers everywhere, but unfortunately, sometimes the show must go on, and I think the majority of people, even though as solemn as it is, would probably want the rider himself, if he was still with us, would want the circus to still continue.
Yeah, I think that was the thing that Jack Miller said, that Jason would definitely want things to continue, and his family. I haven't heard from his family. His father was an established motocross racer in his day as well, so the family had a background in the sport. I think the thing that sort of particularly upset Bagnaia more than anything else, Francesco was sort of saying it wasn't just the fact that the race went ahead, it was the timing of it and the fact that the riders really just weren't consulted. And I think it was Remy who actually said they were really just literally pretty much on their bikes ready to roll out, and it was just sort of I'll go there. Oh, by the way, there's going to be a minute silence because Jason's just passed away, and it was just it really floored a lot of the guys. And I think as Francesco said, that it probably would have been nice if we'd have just had time, if they'd have just got everybody together and said, look, guys, do we actually want to do this? It would have been.
I think, as you said, probably the consensus, or if they not necessarily go to a vote, but the feeling would have been, yeah, Pecco's got a point. That's Francesco's nickname, Pecco, in the paddock. Pecco would. I think he may not have raced himself, but he just maybe have wanted that choice, I think, and maybe that slight delay. But look, it's not just about the riders. If you sign up to it, there's a lot of contractual agreements, and a lot of things have to meet certain time frames, and a lot of there's a lot of aspects about a race day that have to be met. Certain boxes have to be ticked throughout the day, so for other things to continue. So unfortunately, not everyone gets a say sometimes when there's a extremely unfortunate event like that, and that's the worst case scenario is someone loses their life, and that's what I said. Unfortunately, those decisions are taken out of your hands sometimes.
Yeah, I think the thing is, I mean, it's a bit like sort of the situation at Le Mans quite a few years back when we lost our mate Alan Simonson there. I mean, the race was obviously, right at the start of the race. They certainly didn't stop the race. No one really expected them to stop the race, but it was a very sort of somber presentation at the end. But it was also very emotional. It was also a beautiful tribute to Alan as well, in terms of just as they did with the MotoGP guys paying tribute to Jason at the end of their races. We also had Tom Christensen and those guys at Le Mans paying tribute to Alan, and I know afterwards, from his direct from his family, from his brother Benny, and also his partner at the time, that they all basically said, no, look, that is clearly what Alan would have wanted. He wouldn't have wanted, but not everyone thought like that. I remember at the time, Jason Bright raced there that year, and I remember at the time, Jason's partner Lucy was on Facebook and just saying, because obviously her and Jason knew Alan very well as well also, and they were just saying, just please stop the race. I mean, we just don't feel like doing this anymore, but. Yeah, it's just, it goes. Unfortunately, it does go with the territory. I'm afraid.
And just probably finish off the overall report. Just a tidbit of news that's just come out as well. Vinales, that's the Yamaha factory rider, has basically he and his crew chief, I can't remember his name offhand.
Goodbye.
Had a mutual separation, mutual split. So look, I'll dig up some details. If it's juicy, I'll get back to everyone next week who's listening or watching it. But
it was just announced. I mean, it is what they call in the wonderful world of wrestling and the WWE. He has been future endeavoured. It's like, we wish you all the best in your future endeavours. And
both parties are wishing giving each other a giving each other a Merry Christmas at the moment. And you're on my card list for the time being. There's a lot of months before Christmas happens, so they might suddenly drop off their Christmas card list, but. I would dare say, I haven't read the statement yet, but Maverick would be probably putting along the lines or someone who's writing for his PR would say he's maybe looking for a little bit more consistency. That's the only thing I think he probably wants at the moment. He doesn't want to be bottom, doesn't necessarily want every race, but he'd just like to be there somewhere thereabouts. So that's why I think Vinales research. Wouldn't be surprised it's been left out of his press statement.
If his engineer is looking for a new gig, perhaps he can come over here. I believe there's a coaching job at Collingwood going fairly soon. So
there's a few jobs. There's actually, I'm going to nominate you for the board. I'm going to go outside the MCG and break all the rules this weekend. And actually, no, sorry, my apologies. I did hear on the news tonight all the Collingwood players are quarantining at Como down in South Yarra. They're on Chapel Street as we speak. So
that's a great place for footballers to be quarantining. Bloody Chapel Street, isn't it? Yeah.
So apparently, I don't know if they have any intention on breaking the rules down there. Chapel Street, as you said, is a bit of a mecca, but they're doing chap laps around the Como Hotel there, self-quarantining there. So if you want some signatures and you've got some disgruntled Collingwood fans, maybe a player or two, go camp yourself out the front, and you might get.
Yeah, I think so. Incidentally, Michael, the glasses and the beard don't make me look clever. It makes me look what I am, old.
You're too kind.
Yes, way too kind, Michael. But I appreciate it anyway. I mean, somebody's got to pay me a compliment occasionally.
You're an astute man. Don't let anyone argue with you that.
Let's talk about coming up this weekend. The Azerbaijan Grand Prix is happening, so it's just another huge weekend coming up because we've got the Nürburgring 24 Hours, we've got the European Le Mans Series and the Le Mans Cup, and we've got the Azerbaijan Grand Prix in Formula 2
and MotoGP
and another MotoGP
at Catalonia. Yeah.
Holy boy, am I going to be doing some bloody editing on Monday and Tuesday?
You're gonna have time to do full course yellow by next Thursday. You're gonna squeeze it in.
Oh, it's going to be. We don't have a guest for next. I mean, obviously with the not being able to go into the studio, that threw us out because we had guests, and I don't want to use the guests that we have the local people to come into, because I want people to come into the studio. I don't want to, I don't want to use
You're
the
saving
Zoom
them.
thing
They're
to-
saving them for special times.
saving them for when we actually need warm bodies in the studio rather than go online. So I'm looking for people interstate and overseas. Hence contacting Hugh. So I've got a few people. Got a few people tomorrow and over the next few days that I've got to try and chase down and see if they're available. But a lot of them are going to be very tired because a lot of them are going to be coming straight off the Nürburgring 24 hours. So that'll be interesting to see if I can get to the people that I want there. But we'll see how we go with that. But is there anything much happened, Pete, in the world of Formula One that we need to know about, or are they just everybody just keeping their head down? I've noticed there seems to be more. I don't know. A lot of it's probably just media, media hype and all the rest of it. But I seem to be sensing that the nice friendly relationship at McLaren between Mr. Norris and Mr. Ricciardo might not be as friendly as we thought it was.
Do tell.
Yeah, there seems to be a bit of niggle going on, and Valtteri Bottas has been delayed. He's had travel delays, so he's going to arrive at the last minute at Baku. But I think I think because Baku is a street circuit again, I think Daniel will have similar sorts of issues that he had in Monaco. But Carlos Sainz is saying that he expects the McLarens to be rockets there, but I think Daniel will unfortunately have similar sorts of issues that he had because it's a street circuit and it's also very long.
It surprisingly gives sort of good pretty good racing over because it looks terrible. You have a look at it on the map and you think, oh my god, what a horrible track. But it actually has turned out some good racing over the past few years.
Yeah, I really like it. It has, and it's turned out some different results and things.
Yeah, and I think that's what we need. It'll be interesting to see also how Lewis manages to pop back because I mean he obviously had a bad time as well. I think Valttieri's probably running late because he's still recovering, trying to get that damn wheel off of his.
He's got. I think he's reduced. He's down to just a hammer and chisel now. I think, and he's just chipping away at it. But Richard, you probably do a little bit of that same sort of thing on the Honda. You'd have a bit of wheel lock every now and again, wouldn't you? Or your rattle gun would just spin it and knock the corners off your nuts, wouldn't it?
Well, yeah, I've got the same sort of nuts which are made of alloys, and they're pretty easily damaged, I can tell you. And now with the there is the takeaway quote for tonight's program. Richard Outram has alloy nuts that are easily damaged. You heard it here first.
Very similar to Bottas' nuts, so they share a bit in common as well too. Maybe you should give him some advice on how he can get his nuts off.
Yes. Somehow I don't think
we're going for a different demographic, aren't we?
Yeah, I don't think Valtteri needs any help to get his nuts off. I think he's probably doing quite all right in that department as well. Supercar team members should be in quarantine by now, so they can go to Darwin along with the Australian Superbike Championships because they're racing up there as well. Darwin's looking like has become sort of the motorsport mecca for the while because obviously we've got Hidden Valley this weekend and then coming up next month we've got the newly announced first round of the new Australian Drag Racing National Series happening up there as well. I had a phone call about that today and really. And then they're going down to Alice Springs as well. There's going to be a round at Alice Springs Dragway. So good to see some racing happening up at the Northern Territory. So
the warmth. We are envious. Oh.
Yeah, it would be nice. A bit of the tropical climes would be. Tropical climes would be very, very nice at this stage.
I know.
Look, you can't complain about the last couple of days, though. I mean, it's been beautiful, absolutely beautiful weather. So,
Anyway, sorry, getting back to getting back to the Formula One guys, as you said, Mr. Ramsey, can LH, can Sir Lewis get back into some form again? Was it just some bad strategy and a bit of hiccup, and then just all the cards fell over for one race, or has he got is the world champion got the strength in him?
Sorry, the weather in Monaco was cooler, and the Mercedes. If you remember last year in Germany, where it was rainy and cold, the Mercedes didn't perform that well, and the weather, though it was sunny, it was quite cool, and they had a lot of trouble getting their tyres up to temperature. So I think it'll depend on the weather in Baku as to how well he does.
You would think at this time of the year in Azerbaijan that the weather would be fairly warm, so they might be a bit happier. A bit happier there, but it'll be obviously a good race for the weekend. It'll be interesting to see what Lando does again. It'll be interesting to see how Ferrari does again too, especially Charles Leclerc after his disappointment at the last round at Monaco. So that would be good. Also, over the last week or so, last weekend, we saw the running of the Indianapolis 500. I didn't watch the whole of the race. I I got up and watched about the last 25 laps or so, and then I jumped onto the Zoom and jumped into the press conference with Scott, which you saw bits of tonight on the show. He was looking okay at one stage, but his pit sequence was out because he went in really hard, and a lot of people had a lot of trouble in that pit lane over there. We saw Will Power went around, and
went in pretty
Ray.
Hot, I think, was probably the best.
Yeah, Simona Di Silvestro also spun in pit lane. So I'm not sure what happened there. But a lot of people did have lots of problems going in just way too hot, and Scott was one of them. And he was really disappointed. I mean, he won the Rookie of the Year and all the rest of it, but he was. You could tell at the media conference he was very, very disappointed. I mean, there were a couple of sort of New Zealand journalists there, people who he knew well, and he was like, they were sort of saying, "Good on, we're proud." And he really wasn't in the mood. He was just, he really did think that he could have done an awful lot better. And
well, the prospect of a potential top 10, it wasn't guaranteed. He still had the elbows out and fight it out amongst the hot front runners. But yeah, you're right, totally right. But that's what I said. He wasn't Robinson Crusoe. He wasn't alone there. There was a few that went in the pits and did not hit that button in time or be able to negotiate a few extra kilometres off those under rotating wheels before he got through that line. So the speed trap grabbed him. But that's it. I mean, how many races has he been in now so far? Every race is a learning curve. As long as next year when he goes and competes and he qualifies better or starts better or whatever it may be, he hits those KPIs, he's going to be better for it. So, and even the experienced ones were doing it. You're right, Brett.
Yeah, and I mean, let's talk. Elio Castro Neves did well. I'm sure somebody who watched it is Tony Ryan, who's from Michigan, over in Detroit. G'day, Tony. How are you, Tony? A lot of flaggies would know of Tony and his wife Vanessa, and they moved over to the States a while ago, and they seem to be very, very happy there in the snow in the winter and all the rest of it, and just seem to be having a ball. So g'day, Tony. How are you? Tony and Vanessa are part of the In-Pit Lane family many years ago with back in the old days, along with their dad, with Daryl, and it was Vanessa's dad. So anyway, so great to catch up with you again, Tony. Hope you're enjoying yourself over there, and hello to Vanessa and all of the kids as well. That's good to hear from you again.
Just on that note, then, Tony, I don't know you from a bar of soap, but if you're a friend of Brett's, you're a friend of the show, and you're a friend of everyone. Then just be careful while you're driving the Dukes of Hazzard car there. That tends to smash a lot. Okay, so be very careful. It was like. Every single episode you watch, the cars got smashed. So just be careful driving that.
He's a little bit. They're a little bit north of Dukes of Hazzard country, so I think they're going to be sitting. I think they've probably got more to worry about from street gangs than they do from Cousin Duke and Daisy and Boss Hogg and all the rest of them.
Yeah.
So.
And
I don't know where I got that. I
Roscoe
never.
P. Coltrane.
I don't know where I got those names from. I never watched the bloody thing.
I
So
can remember Roscoe P. Coltrane.
Coltrane, yeah.
Don't you forget it. Oh, come on down.
Flash.
Wait, boss. We'll just wait for
Got
me.
him going now, Brett.
we've now officially we've
Yeah,
crossed
so
the
many
Rubicon.
nights I stayed awake thinking of Daisy Duke. Okay.
Yes, well, that's
Catherine Bark.
Catherine. Yes, that was a name, wasn't it? Yes, I wonder. I haven't. Yeah,
I think those legs were insured for a lot of dollars. I think.
Yeah, it's just as long as Daisy goes with the car. Yeah, the car. The interesting thing, of course, now is there's tons of those sort of Dukes of Hazzard car sort of replicas running around, including here in Australia. But over in America, they're ripping the old Confederate flag off the top of the off the top of a few of them because apparently, I don't know why, but apparently slavery isn't fun. So
just on a passing note, I think the star went just a good old boy.
Yes.
That was the soundtrack for the start of the show, and yeah. Anyway,
okay, well, you obviously know more about it. So if you got any Dukes of Hazzard questions, just drop them in for Doc, and he will attempt
laying
to
out the show, care of Doc, and I'll get back to you. And
we'll get back for all of you, all your Dukes of
the links
Hazzard.
to the YouTube clips that we with my Muppet Show ones as well, though, too, when we act like goons.
Yeah. Now the Goons, I can tell you about.
Yes, the Goons. Yes, we'll start doing lines out of the Goon Show.
Yes. We won't get there. There's two. You can tell people of a certain age. There's people of a certain age quote the do the Goon voices and the Goon lines, and people who are just sort of a little bit younger do Monty Python, then
don't forget Kenny Everett.
Kenny Everett came later. Yes, it's interesting how that whole sort of when you look at it, sort of the Goons begat Monty Python, begat the Goodies, began So it was that thing that's gone right through to Fry and Laurie and Peep
on the
Show
Bus
and all those.
Dad's Army, all those English comedies as well too.
Oh, a lot of those English comedies. You look back at them now and you go, "Oh my God, how did they get away with that?" It's terrible.
This is getting slightly off topic now, but I'll try and end this up really quickly. I was watching ABC
as if we ever were on topic.
last Friday morning, a particular federal government-sponsored TV station that pays their bills, it might be the first three letters of an alphabet, was having the start of their morning program. And I was just waking up and I flicked on the idiot box and someone said they were putting out to the audience, just not a proper survey, saying if you wanted the TV show to come back to air, what would you like to see? And someone suggested Graham Kennedy's Blankety Blanks, and it was either hell yeah, bring it on. Wish Graham was still with us, bless his soul. How funny! And the other people would say, how the hell did they get away with some of the stuff that they said? Like you couldn't.
And Ugly Dave Gray.
Yeah.
The two of them together.
I mean, if Dick went swimming again, we'd be in a lot of trouble. So
did Dick?
Wet Dick. Anyway, that's what I'm saying. And if Dick went, of course, parachuting, it'd be a stiff Dick. And anyway, so but I think Michael Rowland, I think, is one of the guys might be that works for that particular three letters of the alphabet. And he said, "Oh yeah, I can't live without Graham Kennedy. Blankety Blanks grew up with it. It's still just in perspective. It was a great show." And the other person that was sitting next to him just went, "No, you cannot commit. This is TV suicide. You cannot say that. Why would you endorse this?" Anyway,
I know who you.
I just realised it's nice to know, Jeff, that there is at least one other person in Australia who knows and appreciates Jasper Carrot.
Yes,
and Benny Hill.
And Benny Hill. Benny Hill we know about. Jasper Carrot was sort of more under the radar a bit, but very funny man, Jasper Carrot, and of course probably the most offensive of all. Yes, Peter Cook and Dudley Moore, Derek and Clive.
Yes, Derek.
Yeah, so Anyway, we moved right away from motorsport.
Yes,
I
we
suppose that
have.
sort of.
We
I
moved
suppose
a
that
little bit away
indicates.
from motorsport.
I suppose that indicates that there's, even though there was a bit of stuff on the weekend, there's
Oh,
not a lot's
anyway,
happening locally.
just out of curiosity, I might know, but who won the Indy 500
Elio
They
Castro
haven't done
Neves.
and got
Oh.
paid 1.8 million for
Spoilers.
his 1.8 gorillas?
You've had a week, Richard.
Yeah, I'm still behind. All right.
1.8 million gorillas. Did you say, Richard?
I don't know. I didn't
Yeah,
know
you-
Castro Neves won it until just 10 seconds ago.
It was a great performance, and it was hugely popular. It also it was one of the highest rating Indy 500s they've had, which will sort of really annoy NBC, because NBC are walking away from, I believe, from the 500 and from IndyCar next year, or so they say, and they're talking about that it may go exclusively onto pay TV, which is sort of happening obviously everywhere, including here in Australia. So, but it was good to be able to watch. It was great to catch up with the race. It was a good race. There were plenty of lead changes. There was plenty of action. And Elio just a fabulous guy. Really, absolutely beloved by both the crowd and by all the other competitors, especially under the circumstances. How good must he have felt? He sort of got pushed aside out of Roger Penske's team, and there he goes winning the Indy 500 on the track that Roger Penske now owns in their blue ribbon event. I mean, Roger was obviously really happy for him and all the rest of it, but I think it was also partly through gritted teeth as well.
So bygones have been bygones at least, and everyone's moved on and celebrate the fact that someone deserved to won it.
Yeah, it's good. So he got to drink the milk, which is of course the tradition over there. No spraying of champagne. You drink the milk, and you get a choice of flavoured milk. He had strawberry. He had. They asked them before what sort of milk they wanted, and Elio wanted strawberry. So that was really good. And of course, earlier in the year,
the iced coffee fans would be up in arms, wouldn't they?
Yeah, well, of course,
That's the most
Elio
popular
earlier
milk.
in the year won the Daytona 24-hour, and I'm not sure. I believe he might even be entered for Le Mans as well with one of the teams. So that would be, it's not the Triple Crown, but it's certainly a Triple Crown if he managed to pull that off. So that'd be pretty cool. But as I said, the European Le Mans Series, 42 cars at the Circuit Paul Ricard this weekend. There will be live streaming happening of both that race and also the Le Mans Cup on the Saturday. So Le Mans Cup on the Saturday, the 4 hour of Paul Ricard of Le Castellet on the Sunday, and of course all over the weekend, basically from Saturday. Saturday night, the Nürburgring 24 hours. In fact, I think their qualifying. I think first qualifying session is pretty much happening as we speak. So
Thanks to
it's
you,
going to be
Brett.
a big weekend.
Thanks to you, Brett, and putting that link up last weekend for the qualifying sessions for Paul Ricard, and did catch up on that. And for qualifying, there was I don't think a couple of the team bosses would be too happy with the panels that they have to replace. There was a bit of rubbing going on out there. It wasn't slipstreaming. They were touching each other up, and a couple are off. So, yeah, qualifying was a little bit more exciting than the usual run of the mill, and let's just put the car around. Let's go. We've got 3 minutes to go. Let's put the car out again. So, exciting qualifying.
It's funny with Paul Ricard, because that's what I said to Jason. I mean, when you look at it, it looks such a confusing circuit, especially from the air, because of all those coloured lines everywhere and all of the different layouts. It's a very flexible circuit. There's all sorts of different layouts you can use. But Hugh was saying that no, it's actually very straightforward. In fact, he said afterwards, like particularly in an open wheeler, he said you're very low, so you don't see. He said you basically just see that tunnel of track. He really liked the track because, as he said, it was you could really find the limits there. You could really push it until you went beyond the limits, because it was there was so much runoff area. It was so safe. You could really push yourself, because if you did make a mistake, chances are you weren't gonna bang into anything and hurt the car or yourself. So yeah, it's an interesting track. So that'll be that's this weekend. The Le Mans. We also saw that, I don't know, I ran it tonight on the news, the Extreme E that Molly Taylor has won. So she's won the second round again. I actually like it. I mean, the cars sound terrible, but by geez, they move. Racing's
I
been
did.
good.
I did see a presser for it. And the results, and I did see a shot of her getting her hands dirty and doing some repairs. So, but I didn't, and I did see that they won, but I haven't had a listen to the cars. Are they? What would you compare them to, a vacuum cleaner or something? I don't know.
Yeah, they're sort of like your standard sort of electric motor, but
Electrolux sucker.
They're certainly they certainly
and
move.
blows.
They're a very fast car. And the interesting thing, Audi have announced that they're going to have an all electric entrant in the Dakar Rally next year. So
that's right, because Toby Price is doing some Red Bull stuff over here as well too. Yeah.
Yeah, the electric technology is moving at a ridiculous pace. Also, not officially announced, but Graham Goodwin from Daily Sports Car, and also heard regularly on the Marshall Pruitt podcast, probably the number one journalist in terms of sports car racing, was saying that pretty much announcing it, unofficially, officially, that Hyundai are going to enter a hydrogen powered car at Le Mans for a hydrogen fuel cell powered car for 2024. And Toyota had a hydrogen powered car running just recently in Japan, but it was using combustion. It was running hydrogen basically as a more traditional fuel in an internal combustion engine, which is not the most efficient way to use it. But the car that will run at Le Mans will be a fuel cell car, and they're saying that will give them all the advantages of an electric car, but with all the mileage to actually get the whole 24 hours. And in fact, so there are some people who are saying that if they manage to pull that off, chances are they're going to be a big chance of actually winning the thing outright, because because those electric cars, as we saw with that Volkswagen that was running that ID3 or whatever it was, that absolutely flew.
Just with you mentioning that word hydrogen, I thought we'd cue our resident professor, Stuart Fairweather, to give us the hydrogen analysis again. But he hasn't popped up on the screen. If you want to get Stuart Fairweather up in a lather, just mention hydrogen cars.
Hydrogen. Yeah,
there you go. So apologies out there. We haven't had our science lesson tonight. Stuart will be with us another one night, and he will give you your an hour briefing on hydrogen cars, how useless they can be.
How useless they will be, yes. Well, it'll be interesting. I mean, the problem with hydrogen at the moment is transporting it. I mean, there are ways of doing it, and the CSIRO have come up with a couple of fairly interesting things to make it easier to transport. In fact, that was one of the things on Graham's story, is that they're trying to figure out the best way to actually store the fuel at Le Mans, at the circuit, and they're sort of saying that the problem is it's going to run as a one-off at Le Mans, and they said, they wanted to know, someone asked about whether they would run for the rest of the World Endurance Championship, and they said the problem is the infrastructure that they're going to have to build at every circuit that those hydrogen cars run on is going to cost a lot of money just for the sake of one or two cars, perhaps. So, but an interesting technical challenge, and
as technology gets better and it gets more expanded, it'll be cheaper if everyone utilises it and comes up with the ideas. So, and that's how everything works in life. Everyone's got to adapt to it and embrace it, and you get the benefits from it.
Racing improves the breed.
It does.
Okay,
Sorry.
So go ahead,
Sorry,
Richard.
Brett. Go ahead. I was just going to say, I can't see how hydrogen's any more difficult to transport around or use than LPG.
I believe there's a couple of things on YouTube. I know John Cardogan has a whole series on I think it's car advice. I think he's got a whole series on sort of the advantages and disadvantages. And there's some of the stuff that Stuart said. There are some problems in transporting it because it doesn't have a high calorific energy rating. That you need a lot more of it to get the bang for your buck. So, and it's got to, and because of the nature of it, it needs to be kept at a low temperature. So there are some problems. There are some problems with dragging it around. But look, they'll overcome that, because you can't see. batteries are a temporary thing. There's already you've seen probably those photos on Facebook and all the rest of it of basically dead EV car graveyards. Some of the people who bought the first generation Telstras and the first generation, somebody here in Melbourne bought the first generation Nissan Leaf, and the battery is now sort of basically dead, and went in and said, okay, what do I do with it? And they went, take it to the tip. Like it's going to cost you $38,000 to put new batteries in it. He paid $50,000 for the car. He's run it for about 6 years, and they've just said, no, the batteries, as lithium, as we know, sort of from our stuff with television, mobile phones, our cameras, and all the rest of it. I'm changing their lithium-ion batteries, and we change them about once every 2 years. And these are obviously much bigger batteries and very expensive, and some of them are also basically built into the chassis. So
They're part of the chassis.
Yeah, that's it. So it's becoming a real problem in terms of okay, it's all right making these cars, but what are they going to do with them? It's like Apple at the moment. If you've got an old iPhone, you can take it back to Apple and they'll recycle up to 90% of it. At the moment, I don't think that Tesla or anybody else is offering anything like that right now, and going to get expensive if you've got to change every time the battery.
So how are these
take
electric cars?
Into a flood.
Sorry, Chris?
I was going to say, how these electric cars are a green alternative if you just use them for a few years and then you pitch them and buy another car?
The expected life of the new
brown
ones
is the other alternative.
Yeah,
the newer ones have got a bit more, or they've got a 10+ year lifespan now, but that's only through the development of the technology with the battery as modern things. But as Brett said, just briefly then, there's not as much R&D going into what's the recyclable and the end product once it's finished, because it's not about that. Whereas, Apple, for example, is a huge company. It's probably it's the most recognized and most profitable companies in the world, and the biggest. And they've obviously had the time, and of course it was in their best interest to be able to do the research and development into what can be recycled into a phone once they become a massively huge conglomerate business. And it's in their best interest to say that we are safe to the environment. All 90% of these phones can be blah, 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 blah. Whereas, still EV cars around the world, especially in Australia, as we know, it hasn't had much government backing, and there is no charging stations hardly anywhere. You can't travel outside your own, within a certain amount of k's within your own garage these days if you've got the charging equipment set up there. So there hasn't been the research and development gone into what are we going to do with the trash can when we have to put it out.
Well, there's a guy up the road has a Tesla, beautiful. It's a lovely looking thing. There's quite a few of them floating around here for some reason. They seem to be they do seem to be taking off. But when I go from a walk of an afternoon, I sort of saw him. He was washing the damn thing, so I asked him about it, and he was saying that in terms of putting the charger in, he wanted to put in the high capacity charger into his garage, and it was going to cost him something like $8,500. Just to get the charger put in. And he hasn't bought the car. The car is a lease. So, but he said, it was going to cost a lot of money. And as he said, the only reason he could even think of doing it is because he owns the house. He said, if I was renting the place, unless the people who owned the place decided to put that in, and then it's like, which one do they put in? Do they put in the one that only works with Teslas, or do they put in the one that has the interchangeable things that works with everything? And they haven't. It's not quite ready for prime time yet, but.
And Doc, I'm just down the road from you, and 60% of the people around here, they can't use a Tesla. They can't pull a trailer, a float, load bricks, fencing posts and all that sort of thing.
You can easily do that. I mean, the one thing that there's no shortage of torque in an electric car. They will pull everything. They will just they'll rip.
But what four-wheel drive alternatives are there as well, though? Too, they're mainly just cars at present, aren't they?
What was that, Doc?
What four-wheel drive adaptability, or what four-wheel drive alternatives have you got at the moment, other than just being a little SUV? what I mean, as you said, they've got a lot of torque, etc., like that.
Yeah.
But what capability they have got compared to, say, a V8 Land Cruiser or to a Nissan Patrol? Yes, they can tow something, but do they have that durability to be able to do it in the, as Richard is saying, out there in but nowhere to a certain extent? You just haven't. There's not that adaptability for these cars yet. The development's not there, is there, Richard?
Well, my next door neighbour has a very, very steep exit out of their driveway, and she tows horses. She's sometimes pulling 2 ton out of her driveway, and then she'll drive to up to the border. Now, will a Tesla do all that?
It puts a strain. It puts some strain on the Energizer Bunny, doesn't it?
That's what I was thinking. Has it? What are the ADRs like on the brakes and the chassis? And will it do 400k and then turn around in an hour and go home?
Well, as I said, the strain on it going 2 ton up a hill is likely to draw more power than your 400k round trip. You'd have to reduce that, wouldn't you? I'm sure there's something on the dash saying how many kilometres range it has, so it would downgrade it depending on the conditions that you're driving in as well.
Yeah, I think that as Paul's pointing out, the new F-150 just announced in the USA, that's an absolute beast of a thing. It's like over I think it's 540 horsepower and a ridiculous amount of torque. The other thing about it is it's really handy is because it's basically a great big battery on wheels. It's got power points in it, and you can just pull your trailer. You can just pull it up, and you can just take it out, and you can plug your drills and all the rest of it into the back of your car. There's power. There's power outlets.
I've got that in my van now.
Just if we're going to talk forwards, don't forget the Broncos just been released over there too recently as well. So that would be it. Oh, there we go. We've got some interest there. There's the ears prick up. Oh, yes. Oh, yeah.
You tow a boat with an electric car. If you accidentally put the electric car in the seawater, it's good night, Irene.
Yeah. I think that's the one thing that
they told me before. The funniest place on earth is sitting there watching people back boating down a ramp.
And getting the water into above the door level.
Yes, I've seen that twice.
I mean, the point is, from my point of view, I mean, I'm never going to have to worry about this anyway because I'm never going to be able to afford an electric car. I mean, by the time electric cars are cheap enough for me to own it, I will be long past any stage of driving anything at all, apart from sort of the tombstone. So, I think that it's academic as far as I'm concerned, but it's interesting. The technology is interesting. I'd like to play with one. I've thought a few times of whether I contact some of the I don't know whether people would like to see it because we used to do a bit of car testing in the past, but car testing is a pain in the arse.
Okay, on that then. Well, raise your hand right now if you want to throw it out to Ford to give when the F-150 comes over here. The electric version is. If you want, Brett, you put your hand up first, didn't you? Want to take the F-150 and your favourite tinny? Grab a tinny from down there at Yamaha and back it in down the thing and see how far you can get down before you. I'll
tell you what we'll do is, I mean, we'll get hold of it for Ford we'll see if we can get it for a week or so. And we'll throw the trailer on the back of it. And we'll take Richard's Hyundai up to Bathurst and back.
I'm going.
I've got the jet ski. We can throw the jet ski in and see if we can back it in down the ramp or somewhere and see how far we get before it gives us a shock.
If we do that, you'll be driving it because I'm not backing anything into the water that's powered by
I don't think there's any metal. It's all fabric on the seats. There's no metal.
Doc, if it catches fire, you can throw some water on it.
Yes.
Okay. So the bucket's mandatory when it comes as a factory option, does it? Buckets?
Carry a bucket of sand with you. Hey, listen, I think we might call it. I think we might call it quits there. It's as I said, not a lot happening locally. I mean, obviously everybody heading up. We were obviously supposed to have Winton, which didn't go ahead. Nothing happened locally. All of the local, the poor people yet again drew and got monstered. They have had no luck at all. Those poor buggers. It's just they've been all year. Every time they try and get a damn meeting up, something happens. So it's a bit like us getting back into the studio.
Oh, we've been thrown out into the cold from the studio in Swanson Street as well too.
Yeah, it was nice to get back there for one night only. It was there, so who knows? Perhaps same time next year. But whatever happens, once again, before we go, just on a serious note, to everybody who watches the show on 31 and to all the friends, even if you've been a guest on the show over the years, if you know anybody, if you've seen a category or anything. The only reason a show like In Pit Lane can exist is because of Channel 31. And once again, at the end of the month, the government is going to shut Channel 31 down. They've once again said that and yet again have said, no correspondence will be entered into it. They're not going to use the bandwidth for anything else. There is no movement at all in terms of what they're going to use it for. They've said they will look at it probably sometime in about 2026, that they might be looking at some alternatives, but that will only happen if the commercial networks agree to propose in what's called the Green Paper, and already, and I'll post something up on Facebook probably tomorrow, but a name we well know, James Warburton, former Supercars boss, who's now the head of Channel 7, put out a thing in Mumbarella, the media trade paper today, where he basically said, read the Green Paper, pretty colour, like it, well written, interesting thought, but ain't happening, people, not happening. So they will shut 31 down, and then nothing else will happen, and we will just have basically an empty channel on 44 probably for the next 8 to 10 years, doing absolutely nothing when it could be
Nothing
used
will
for.
ever replace it.
We've had extension, but what
free
is
air will be dead.
That's exactly right, Richard. But I mean, we've had extension after extension. Okay, this all goes by, in context, put it in context. But the thing that astounds every single person, including the politicians, like senators that are backing Channel 31 and local, state and federal ministers or anything in government whatsoever, the ones that support Channel 31 have frequently put out an official question, what are you shutting it down for? And no one has ever been able to give a reasonable excuse whatsoever on why they're going to pull the pin on community television throughout the whole of Australia.
The standard argument used to be we need the bandwidth to test new technology, and the technology they were talking about testing at the time was H.264. H.264 is now old technology, so they're saying, we need to test H.265. H.265 is just another codec. It's transmitted exactly the same as H.264. If H.264 works, H.265 is going to work just fine as well. Works on the same frequency. It's just just ones and zeros. That's all it is. So there's no need to test that. Nobody else wants to buy it. The only person who does want to buy it, there's one person who wants to buy it. His name starts with Rupert.
In the world, it's not China.
Yeah, well, I'm not sure which would be safer. Whether I think China would probably be a bit more reliable than Rupert is. But anyway, that's part of the. And you'll also notice today that, or yesterday, they announced a lot of regional newsrooms at television stations across Australia are being closed down as well.
No, that was 2 weeks ago. I sent that out to a few people, to my family, because I've got family in Shepparton and Bendigo, and I saw that came out 2 weeks ago. And that's Win News as taking back control of the channel, going back to the Channel 9 sector, part of regional television. And I've read it in detail 2 weeks ago. A lot of people are going to lose their jobs throughout Australia in regional newsrooms and reporting and journalism, which is such a damn shame, because I'll send you the link too, Brett. I had it 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, well, it's and by the way, if you're interested, I mean, Chris sent me the green paper, the link to the green paper, and you read it, and it literally says on the first thing, the minister actually says that the long-term plan is that free-to-air television will exist as essentially a skeleton service, a backup service for those who are too poor, too old, or too stupid to run a pay TV service. So basically, they just want to push everybody onto pay TV, and then just have a very basic backup service of free to air, which will have sort of news and in their own words, will act as a marketing tool for pay TV and online TV networks. So that's
we're going to 1984 book style days.
Very much so, very much so.
Fahrenheit 451, actually.
Yes. Okay, well let's call it quits there, guys. I think that's there. We've just pretty much come up to the hour. Thanks for joining
I've just
us,
realised.
everybody.
Good night, good evening, Russell. I'm wearing his t-shirt, wearing his shirt tonight.
There, so no, that's interesting. As Tony's saying, pay TV's dying, streaming will kill it long term, and that has very much happened and it's funny in the United States as well, because we do. Stuart is involved in this thing called office hours, and that's industry professionals and some of the leaders in the industry, and they will all tell you that what's happening in some parts of America now is that the current generation, the kids, a lot of them are actually moving back to traditional free-to-air television, because they're sitting down and going, hang on, what do you mean you don't have to pay for it? It just comes over the air? It just, wow, okay, that'll do.
Because they get everything for free on their phone or their tablet or their obviously technological device wherever they're roaming around. They get home as, I need to pay for stuff again. Oh, no, I can't afford that. Why not?
Well, I'll let people know sort of a bit of inside baseball stuff and all the rest of it. I had to borrow some money today to keep this on because I got a message from the bank today saying, and from StreamYard saying, we tried to take the $38 out that it cost you to run StreamYard, which is what we used to run this particular thing. And I didn't have the $38 in there, so I had to get some money from someone and pop $40 into the bank so that they could pay for it. But if you look at it, I mean, $40, $38 for this, $25 for KO, and then your internet, like $80 a month for the internet and all that. By geez, it all adds up. And if you sort of throw in Netflix and Disney and all the different stations, Paramount are starting soon. Peacock will probably end up in Australia as well through Channel 7.
Amazon are already here as well, trying to make waves.
Amazon Prime are here. Well, I was on Amazon Prime. I didn't even know about it. It was only just recently when my credit card changed over the date, and they said, we tried to charge your credit card, but it got knocked back because the date was wrong. And I went, hang on, why are Amazon charging my credit card? And I went and had a look, and I've been paying for Amazon Prime now for nearly a year and a half. Didn't even know.
Yeah, that's the trap, isn't it?
Yeah, that's it.
Big trap.
Nothing's free anymore.
Russell likes your shirt, Doc.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
okay, anybody, let's call it a quiz. Good to hear from you, Tony. Jump on one day. I mean, it's probably would be by gee, it'd be early, and you'd be early where you are right now. It'd be
14 hours difference is usually the go-to time. 14 hours difference. So if it's 10:30 at night here, it's very early in the morning there.
Yeah, I mean, because the office hours, that's Pacific time. That starts at 7 o'clock, which is midnight here. So. Yeah, I mean, you're a few hours, a couple of hours ahead of them, but still early in the morning.
Oh,
so
that's not too bad.
have a good day. 8:30 a.m. So there you go. So we've done it. We've finally become breakfast TV. And now here's Grant with all the
weather. Raisin toast and coffee is on the boil.
Yeah, or over there it's probably like bacon and waffles,
whatever they call it.
Bagels and donuts.
Spread.
If you're a cop, it's bagels and donuts.
Okay, everybody, we'll see you. We'll see you next week. Channel 31, 9 o'clock at the usual time for In Pit Lane. Have a look at the In Pit Lane website over the weekend, and we'll put up links to all sorts of motor racing that's happening. And we'll see you hopefully next Thursday night at 9:30 here for another edition of Full Course Yellow. Tell all your friends about it. The more the merrier, and we'll catch you next week. So until we see you next week, from all of us here at In Pit Lane and Full Course Yellow, it is bye for now. And I shall now click the red button.